He accuses people of doing things he himself is doing. He was someone who cared nothing about rules. He cared nothing about the law. He accuses people of doing things he himself is doing. He was someone who cared nothing about rules. He cared nothing about the law. He was someone who cared nothing about rules. He cared nothing about the law. He was someone who cared nothing about rules. He cared nothing about the law. He was someone who cared nothing about rules. He cared nothing about the law. He accuses people of doing things he himself is doing.
If I let this run,
doing things he himself is doing.
If I let this run, it's the stuff of nightmares. Like, this would be FBI interrogation, psychological torture tactics. So let this run all day, every day, for a week. You will say anything to make it stop.
He was someone who cared nothing about rules. He cared nothing about the law.
This is Hillary Clinton talking about Donald Trump, and she's talking in the longer clip. She actually talks about projection. She uses the word projecting when talking about what Donald Trump does, while then proceeding to accuse Donald Trump of not caring about the rules and not caring about the law. Let's just do it one more time.
He accuses people of doing things he himself is doing. He was someone who cared nothing about rules. He cared nothing about the law. He was
just three good examples. Clinton staff destroyed devices with hammers. CNN's Evan Perez confirms Trump campaign senior advisor Boris Epps. Do you see how they try to shift this? I didn't read the byline in this. CNN Evans Perez confirms Trump campaign senior advisor Boris Epstein's claim that Hillary's. It's no longer a claim if it's been confirmed. It's a fact that Hillary Clinton's staffers destroyed her previous mobile devices using hammers. That's something you just see in government every day, but it's not a fact, and it's not even a statement or a claim. It's Trump campaign. It's Trump saying it. So believe it was a lie, even though we just confirmed the claim coming from Trump that Hillary Clinton's campaign destroyed old mobile devices with hammers.
Someone who cared nothing about rules. He cared nothing about the law.
Which one's this? Oh, yeah, that's right. Clinton broke federal rules with email server. Oh, yeah. She should have surrendered all emails dealing with the State Department issues, the audit found. But she had smashed
someone who cared nothing about rules. He cared nothing about the law. He was some
federal campaign watchdog finds DNC Clinton campaign over dossier spending disclosure. That's when they lied about having funded the Steele dossier, using foreign assets to provide fake information that they then gave to the FBI through their lawyer, who wasn't representing Clinton but billed the campaign for the meeting with the FBI lawyer where he sent them this Steele dossier that the FBI then leaked to Yahoo News, who published an article that the FBI then used to go to the FISA court and say, look, we need a spy on Carter Page. What was she saying about not following the rules or the laws?
Someone who cared nothing about rules. He cared nothing about the law. He accused
Joseph Goebbels didn't say it like this: accuse your enemies of your own sins. Maybe he did. Joseph Goebbels, Adolf Hitler's propaganda minister. That's all we need. That is all we need, and that is all we can take. Hammer and politics always go hand in hand. There's a joke in there. There's another joke in there that I won't make because I'm not a Steven Crowder salty cracker type. It's a Pelosi joke, but it's not a funny one. Can't laugh at other people's misfortune. Good afternoon, East Coast. Good morning, West Coast. Good evening, Europe. Top of the morning to you, Australia. All right, we've got a show today. It's going to talk about hypocrisy. It's going to talk about it's not hypocrisy, it's lawlessness. This is lawlessness. Hillary Clinton, for whatever the reason, still relevant in U.S. politics, talking about Trump having no respect for rules or the law. It's not hierarchy. It's not hypocrisy. It's lawlessness. It's so that one side can get away with smashing mobile devices with a hammer, wiping it with a bleach bit, hiding 30,000 emails, destroying them with impunity, while they then simultaneously try to prosecute and persecute their political ideological adversaries for asinine is not the word I'm looking for, anodyne, innocuous transgressions. Maybe it's Maybelline. Who said that? Hold on a second. Where did the Maybelline go? Maybe it's Maybelline. We're going to get into some more hypocrisy. Or I don't even know if it's hypocrisy. It's just the not caring. The media does not care about Dylan Mulvaney, about transgenderism. They don't care. The media doesn't care about it. Politicians don't care about it. Celebrities don't care about it or them. Corporations do not care about it or them. They don't care about the movement that they co-opt. They care about what they think will be the increase to the bottom line after they co-opt a movement for their own superficial virtue signaling social media currency. And sometimes when it doesn't pay off, well, they just give those people the straight boot to the ass out the front door. How does it feel? We're going to get there. We're talking today before Darren Beattie comes on, and I'm going to call Darren Beattie. I'm going to call him Warren at least 3 times because I've got it stuck in my head. Warren Beattie, Darren Beattie. So when it happens, forgive me. The same way it happened earlier this week where I kept on calling Jessica Rachel for some reason. Darren Beattie is coming on. He's going to be in at 1:30. We're going to be long on Rumble by that time. And he's going to be talking to us about the latest hypocrisy. I don't use words like sedition or treason, but I know some people do. The 60 Minutes, it's not just running cover for Ray Epps anymore. It's, like I've qualified it, it's running Chernobyl-level denialism for Ray Epps. It's running a psychological operation to try to tell a lie to people so egregious that people are going to sit there saying, how dare they try to make us believe a lie this egregious? I'm outraged. I'm going to go do something stupid, which 60 Minutes will then say, look at this. We talked about how these lies about Ray Epps were exposing him to online harassment, and now people are doing it again. Just like they did with Tiffany Dover, NBC, they revive a conspiracy theory for the purposes of trying to whip people into a frenzy yet again, so they can then demonize the conspiracy theorists, demonize those who exceed bounds of civil discourse on social media. They're doing it with Ray Epps by trying to get you to swallow the biggest, stinkiest, steaming pile of feces imaginable. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some Canadian stuff too. Many of you may or may not know there are protests going on in Canada now, massive protests. Of course, it's not those racist, misogynist, xenophobic, transphobic, anti-black, racist, anti-Semitic truckers who, I walked among as brethren. It's not them. It's not those dirty, awful people. It's federal workers. Federal workers demanding increased wages to reflect inflation, which they've now accurately pinned at 13.5% as per their demands. Over 150,000 federal workers are protesting or supporting the protests. They are on the streets from, let's just pick a town, Halifax to Vancouver. They're blocking or interfering with traffic on roads. They're not blockading roads, but they're hindering traffic. They are hindering the provision of essential services, passport offices, border crossings, tax form thing processing. They're not yet being forced back to work, but I can see that in the mail. We'll see what happens to see if the government caves and just gives them everything they want. But there's no Emergencies Act. There's no widespread condemnation of this protest that is holding Canadian citizens hostage. No, Jagmeet Singh is up on Parliament Hill with the protesters taking selfies. We'll get there. Some other outrageous poo-poo coming out of Canada involving Randy Hillier, the member of provincial parliament, facing charges for mischief for allegedly encouraging people to call 911 when that's not what he did. Assault on a police officer for moving a barricade so that protesters could access Parliament Hill. His lawyer, David Anber, who I've had on the show many times, made a motion for change of venue to get out of the Washington, D.C. equivalent of Canada, Ottawa, the epicenter of the people who think that they were held hostage by racist terrorists. Motion for change of venue summarily dismissed. Not even a substantive hearing. Summarily dismissed. No venue change for you. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to go over the some trans stuff. Let's actually start with, because we're on Rumble. Because we're on both Rumble and YouTube. Before we head over to Rumble, let's just start with some of the trans stuff. Pete Buttigieg. They just
the other day I was
quiet, Pete. I'm not done intro yet. Hold on 1 second. The camera just started focusing again, and I don't know why. Yeah, here, show me. Okay, come down a little bit. Forget it. Freeze. Tracking off. Okay. Pete Buttigieg was on Comedy Central. It's so bad. I mean, it's so bad. Oh, hold on. Before we even get into this. Sorry. Forgotten everything. Remove this. Standard disclaimers, people. No medical advice, no legal advice, no election fortification advice. If you so choose to support the channel through these things called Rumble Rants or Super Chats on YouTube, bear in mind, YouTube takes 30% of Super Chats. So if you see that little highlighted comment come up, YouTube takes 30% of that. If you want to support, we are, or should be, and I should check it out, simultaneously streaming on Rumble, where we will be going exclusively in a bit. Rumble has these things called Rumble Rants. They typically take 20%, but for the rest of 2023, 100% of that support goes to the content creator. Come 2024, they're going to be taking their 20%. We are also simultaneously streaming on Locals, vivabarneslaw.locals.com, where I go for an after stream post-mortem to take some questions there exclusively. So you can come join there. You can join and support the content on Locals, $7 a month, $70 a year, or more. Some people decide to support with more. And it's a wonderful community. We've got 108,000 members. That's not supporting members. That's just the community. There's stuff for everybody, and then there's stuff behind a paywall for the paying supporters. It's a great community. As Barnes says, we are all above average. Now, break it into the stream. Add to stream. Pete Buttigieg on Comedy. They got to call it so-called Comedy Central. It's neither comedy nor central. What it is shit. It's poo-poo. Let's just call it that. It's poo-poo. Now let me see. Why can't? Oh, here we go. This is it right here. It's poo-poo. It's so wildly, laughably unfunny, but they just cannot stop lying. The Don't Say Gay bill coming out of Florida, lie. I mean, it's such a lie. There are some people who acknowledge that it was a lie. There was one guy, a gay rights activist, who said, the Don't Say Gay, it doesn't say don't say gay. In fact, it doesn't say don't say anything. It doesn't say don't say heterosexual. So we can't talk about heterosexual sex as if that's the own. That's the purpose of it. The Don't Say Gay label is a lie. Anybody who says it is a liar. Anyone who believes it is an idiot. They've got the new one now. The Republicans are trying to kick trans kids off of sports teams. It's a lie. Anybody who says it is a liar. Anybody who believes it is an idiot. Let's listen to the liar.
Just the other day, I was testifying in the Appropriations Subcommittee explaining how our budget was going to help with things like railroad safety, air traffic control, and other transportation needs. And
listen to the way this guy talks. It's so inauthentic. It's so, hey, let's take a public speech course. What you want to do, you see, is you want to speak and enunciate very clearly and never point a finger, because that's aggressive. That's why you always saw Bill Clinton doing the thumb thing. This is aggressive. This is accusatory. This is good public speaking. Oh, I'm speaking smoothly, convincingly, so you know that I'm telling you the truth.
just the other day, I was testifying in the Appropriations Subcommittee explaining how our budget was going to help with things like railroad safety, air traffic control, and other transportation needs. And we had to take a break so that they could all go and vote on a bill to kick transgender teenagers off of sports teams. That was the priority for the House GOP that day.
You got your barking seals in the cloud, booing. So they could go kick transgender kids off of sport, as if that's what it was. Pete Buttigieg, maybe not the best political position to take. You're a misogynist. Anybody who says that the bill to protect women's sports was about kicking transgender kids off of sports teams is a liar. And anybody who believes it is an idiot, period. Anybody promoting that lie is a misogynist. I'll say it loud and proud and clear, especially if they're a male. I guess if they're a woman, they could be, one of them self-hating women. Any man who comes out and says that this bill is about punishing transgender kids is a misogynist because they are going out of their way, lying, to penalize women and girls. The ban, as we know it, is to protect women's sports. And it says, like, you be you, be. You be who you want to be. But if you're born a male, you don't get to compete on the girls' competitive sports teams. You can train with them. That's what the bill said. We went over last week. You don't get to compete against girls and women where men, boys, have biological advantages that are recognized by such bigoted websites such as Wikipedia. But Pete Buttigieg is a liar, and he's a misogynist, and he comes out and spouts the lie and wants to penalize girls and women by compelling them to compete with men and by compelling them to be exposed to male genitalia. This is one of the things that Riley Gaines was talking about, complaining about, crying about, testifying about before Congress, that she was forced to be exposed to the genitalia, the male genitalia of the individual going by the name Leah Thomas. It's not just misogyny. And I'll take it one step further. It's actual sexual harassment. Flaunting your male genitalia in front of women is not a trans right. It's sexual harassment. And 5 years ago, had the Democrats, remained true to their principles, it was a cancelable #MeToo offense 5 years ago. Now these liberal Democrat progressives, who are in fact regressive misogynists, are forcing women to be exposed to male genitalia under the pretext of transgender rights. They don't care about transgender rights now any more than they cared about women's rights 5 years ago when they were trying to protect them from being exposed to male genitalia. They only cared about the power of politics. How could they use these victims for political purposes? 5 years ago, the victims of being exposed to male genitalia were women. And they weaponized it and they exploited it to go after their ideological adversaries. Now, screw them. Who needs the women? Now the perceived victims are males who suffer from gender dysphoria or whatever condition it is that they, do not identify with the sex assigned to them at birth, which is their sex. Not their gender, but their sex. Now that's the perceived victim. So let's go ahead and exploit them. And in 5 years from now, piss off with them. It'll be a new purported victim that they can exploit for political purposes. It's a power politics game of disingenuous hypocrisy, faux support. And you got Pete Buttigieg lying about the fact that trans kids, that is to say, boys who think they're girls or boys who identify as girls, which, it's such a thing that's been around for so long that it's totally normal that there should be such an explosion of this in the last 2 years. The argument has been around forever. It has. It's been around forever. And when the chart of something that has been around forever goes like this to this, something else is going on other than having been around forever. Social contagions are a thing. Trends are a thing. Fads are a thing. People used to be into self-harm back in the day, anorexia, goth. This just happens to be one of those trending social contagions that leaves much more meaningful scars than some of the previous ones. But you got Pete Buttigieg exploiting them. Who else do you have exploiting them? Oh, that's right. You had Bud Light. Bud Light was exploiting them because they saw a marketing opportunity. Understand, everybody, this is their own words. Hey, Bud Light, I forget what her name was, whatever her name was, we'll get it in this article. We've inherited a product that's been in decline. We have to refresh it. We have to make more money. How can we do that? Well, what's the trend of the day? What's the social contagion of the day? Transgenderism. Let's go milk that. That's an interesting pun. Let's go exploit that. Let's go bilk that for our own, profit. Couldn't give a sweet bugger all about the actual people behind this. Couldn't give a sweet bugger all about, women's rights when half of these companies that, support women's rights actually, behind closed doors exploit women's rights or exploit the women. The bull on Times Square with the brave girl standing in front of the bull. They exploited women I got to pull that up. Who doesn't know that story? Who does? Everyone knows that story, right? You know the story of the brave girl on Wall Street. In Rumble, I guess we can do it in both. 1 for yes, I know that story. 2 for no, I do not know that story. The story behind the brave girl celebrating women's rights. Brave girl exploited women. That was on Times Square. Or no, it wasn't on Times Square. It was Fearless Girl is what it was. Here we go. Fearless Girl. It wasn't Brave Girl. Fearless Girl exploited women. Let me get the article. Oh, for goodness sake. Fearless Girl. I'm not going to be able to find it. Fearless Girl exploited women employees. Here we go. I'll just bring up the Google search. We don't need to go into too much of the article. Here we go. Boom shakalaka. Ignore the typo. The firm that commissioned the popular Fearless Girl statue in New York's financial district has agreed to pay $5 million, mostly to settle claims that it discriminated against 305 top female employees by paying them less than men in the same positions. They don't care about the cause. They just care about the way they can exploit the cause. They don't care about the people behind the cause. They care about how they can exploit the people behind the cause. And Bud Light is the latest one to try to jump onto the bandwagon. And I got to tell you, it couldn't have happened to a better company. They don't care about trans rights. They don't care about trans kids. They don't care about anything other than the bottom line and how to exploit and co-opt the contagion of the day for their own corporate needs. We all know what happened with Dylan Mulvaney. We all know that the subsequent boycott outrage that caused Bud Light or Anheuser-Busch to tank. Well, I think the woman behind that who gave that wonderful interview where she talked about the preppy frat boys that they had to shed that image. Well, she's on paid leave. She's on leave. At least 2 Bud Light executives are on leave after Dylan Mulvaney partnership blowback. In early April, Mulvaney posted a video of herself. We're living in a bloody clown world. He has a penis. He was a gay man up until recently. This is not, even in religion, when you convert and they say, you don't talk about the old religion of the person once they've converted. That's an ideology. That's a belief system. And even then, you don't get canceled for talking about someone's conversion, being raised Protestant or Catholic and having converted to Judaism or vice versa. They're telling me, refer to this man with a penis as a her. And if you don't do it, you're a bigot. And if you don't do it, you're dead naming, dead naming is different. You are misgendering. I'm misgendering Dylan Mulvaney by calling him a him when he has a penis. We're going to get into this other one, another article in a second. It's just that's not radiation. What's the word? Not aborted, but when you lose a baby, that miscarried, deformed fetus. That's totally natural. It has nothing to do with the radiation. Now go back to Chernobyl. In April, Mulvaney posted a video of herself holding a custom Bud Light can with her face. They're trying so hard with her face on it. She said it's the greatest beer she's ever tasted while she put her supple lips to the can and she took the biggest gulps she has ever taken since her birth, which the company sent to help celebrate a year since beginning her transition. A partnership between Bud Light and transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney sparked discussion about representation in the beer industry and a boycott from some conservative consumers. Oh, I think it was a little bit of more than some conservative consumers. Whoever drank that swill in the first place, I don't understand it. Weeks later, the sole Instagram post that sparked the discourse continues to shake things up. At least 2 Bud Light marketing executives are on leave. Mulvaney said she's faced transphobic harassment. Some bars are halting product sales, and an alt-right beer grift appears to be on pause before it even launched. How did it start? Yada, yada, yada. Who is the marketing officer? Critics said that the beer should, quote, know its audience and demanded Bud Light cut ties with Mulvaney and stop going woke. Conservative figures, Ron DeSantis, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Kid Rock asked for boycotts. Kid Rock, he did this whole thing. What's this then? For days, Bud Light's social media stayed quiet. The company released a statement about the company's they put out that awful, cliched ad afterwards. But Mulvaney's supporters said they wanted something more direct as the starlet faced an influx of First of all, don't harass anybody. Don't harass anybody. Nobody knows what they mean by harassment. Is harassment like negative comments and trolls on Twitter? If so, we all face harassment. Don't harass. Don't threaten. The people who don't do this don't need to be told not to do what they know not to do already. How much of this is actually potentially people who are allied putting out this harassment anonymously so they can then say, look how badly we're being harassed. We're the victims here. Now go buy a Bud Light for reparations. Don't harass. It goes without saying. Dylan Mulvaney can do whatever the heck he wants with his body. It's his body. And you know what? He can even try to market it the way he wants. Good for him for milking this shtick to the bank. My ultimate concern is that this is going to leave Dylan feeling very empty and very exploited at the end of the day, because the companies that he's getting money from right now who are exploiting him and who are subjecting him to this public ridicule don't give a good goddamn about Dylan Mulvaney or anything that Dylan Mulvaney might believe in. They don't. They broke their social media. They said they never intended to be part of On April 14, the company broke its social media silence with a statement from Anheuser-Busch CEO Brendan Whitworth. He said the company never intended to be part of a discussion that divides people. Bullshit. If you never intended to, then you're idiots. You intended to. You're liars. And it didn't work out the way you wanted, so you better walk that back for your own bottom line purposes. If you believed in the cause, Whitworth, you wouldn't say something like this. What you would say is, we don't care if it tanks. We don't care if you boycott. We don't want your business, bigots. That's what you should say. Oh, we never intended to be something of a discussion that divides people. We just happened to have our marketing officer come out and basically take a steaming dump on our consumer base. Okay, we don't need to read that anyhow. Then so who was it? It was there you go, Alyssa Heinerscheid. What does that mean? I'm gonna look that word up. I guarantee that means something in German. Last week, Bud Light Vice President of Marketing, Alyssa Heinerscheid, leave of absence was announced. Conservatives previously criticized Heinerscheid for a resurfaced podcast interview where she discussed moving Bud Light away from the fratty ties. The leave of absence was first reported by the Beattie. I don't celebrate when anyone loses their job. Let me take that back. When a politician gets voted out of office because of their shitty policy, I don't celebrate, but I certainly take note. Like when Rachel Gilmore got fired from Global News, losing your job is a terrible thing, whether you hate someone or love them. Now, if you lose your job because you're bad at it, it's a consequence of incompetence. But to revel in someone losing their livelihood, not necessarily the best thing, unless there's highly attenuating circumstances around it. Don Lemon might be one of them, but even then, Heinerscheid is a leave of absence. Okay. By Monday, a second executive, Daniel Blake, who oversees marketing for Anheuser-Busch's large brand, was placed on leave. All right. Previously, a debunked rumor was circulating that Anheuser-Busch laid off its entire marketing team because of the right-wing backlash. I guarantee you the backlash is not so right-wing. Mulvaney speaks out. In her first major interview since the Bud Light backlash, Mulvaney spoke to the level of bullying the transgender community and their allies face. Something about having influencers specifically and overtly say they're coming after your kids. Bullying. When they come out and tell you how to refer to them, call you a bigot if you insist on referring to someone with a penis as a he. When you refuse to partake in their compelled speech, when they tell you what to say, what to think, and not only what to say to them, what to say about them when you are talking to other people when they're not even around, when they try to shame you, when they try to call you a bigot if you don't do it, they're now accusing others of bullying. It's interesting. Accuse your enemies of doing what you're doing. It's bullying in the fact that they want anyone who associates themselves with trans people to be under fire. No, nobody does that. But how about you just don't come out and tell me how I have to talk about you when you're not there? How about not telling me that I have to say that if you have a penis, you're a he, and not calling me and others like me a bigot on social media for saying I will not be compelled to refer to you as her when you have a penis, because like that idiotic shtick out of we can close this down, like that idiotic shtick out of that television show with the autistic doctor. I couldn't tell if it was a joke or not, but they have this whole shtick where the autistic doctor doesn't recognize transgender patients. This kid comes in saying that she's a she, and the punchline is that she ends up having testicular cancer, and you got your virtue signaling doctor who says, with a beautiful British accent, you have to refer to her as a she because she suffers from gender dysphoria and does not identify as her designated sex at birth. And then the autistic kid's like, I was not taught that in school. And then he says, well, he has testicular cancer. And then the other virtue signaling doctor says, you mean she has testicular cancer? And I got to tell you, I don't know if it was intended to be satire, a commentary, or celebrating. But yeah, no, they're not the bullies. Telling someone that you have to refer to a male with a penis as a she and let them compete in girls' sports, that's not bullying. Getting upset about it is bullying. Right? So Bud Light is facing the consequences of their own actions, and then they come out and apologize. We didn't mean to do anything when it didn't work out economically. Bud Light doesn't care about trans rights. It doesn't care about trans kids. It wants to exploit them as much as any other corporate, heartless, corrupt entity out there exploits the flavor of the day. And when it's no longer a cool flavor, they move on and they leave in the wake of destruction behind them. And Dylan Mulvaney will be in that wake of exploitive destruction once Bud Light and all these other companies are done exploiting Dylan Mulvaney. And then Dylan is going to be sitting there, I suspect, with both regret and not feeling all that good about having been so exploited. But they will be long gone and won't care whatsoever by then. What was the other story? So let's get into the bullies being told how to refer to people in their absence. And then after this story, we'll go over to Rumble. Let me see something here. This is one of those stories. I'll call it now. I'll be a little bit ahead of the curve. I've done a little bit more homework apparently than CNN. This is one of those stories where you say, I think we're missing it. I think we're missing a detail. Summarize the news. No, thank you. Do I want CNN summarized news every morning? No, thank you. This is a story where I initially said, I don't believe it. There are additional details in here. Possibly. It might be true also. But this is one of those stories that people jump on. They monetize, which you'll see here because now they've started a GoFundMe for this poor victimized 18-year-old who allegedly was denied entry to her prom because she was wearing a suit to suggest that this Christian school, by the way, which has a code of conduct that you presumably agree to when you go to the school, but I guess maybe contracts aren't for people who identify as transgender. But there's more to the story. Small business owners in Nashville will host prom for student denied from school dance for wearing a suit. I have questions. Flags are going off. Having seen the way this has happened in the past, flags are going off. And this is like one of those stories where everybody wants to virtue signal hard here. They don't have the details. They don't know what happened. They don't know if there's a damn good reason for this that is not related whatsoever to transgender contagion. Doesn't matter. They want to virtue signal hard. Let's raise money. Let's give this poor victim the prom that she so deserves. This is the picture. Remember this picture for later because I actually do a little bit of homework, unlike CNN propagandists. They wouldn't let me in because I'm in a suit. Now, I've worn a suit my entire life. I didn't like it. I don't wear them anymore. That doesn't look like a suit. The guy in the back, let me see, can I zoom in on this? Who doesn't look so happy about the picture? That's a suit. This guy right here, that looks like a suit. That looks like a three-piece suit. Never wore a three-piece suit before. This is not a suit. It's not ugly attire. It's actually kind of cool, but it's not a suit. Okay, let's just bookmark that and move on. Small business owners in Nashville, they're stepping up. Oh yeah, that's a Trudeau term right there. That's what you do when you're a good compliant person. You step up. After a high school student was turned away from their senior prom for wearing a suit, their senior prom. Okay, wait until you hear all of this. It makes so much sense that B. Hayes, 18, who uses they, he pronouns. I tell you that this is a game, and the people accusing others of bullying. It's not just that they try to bully with the pronouns. Refer to me as he, him, even though I have a vagina and breasts. Well, the breasts, I mean, there's some men that have breasts, so never mind. Even though I have an XX chromosome, refer to me as he, him. That would be enough for some people to say that's bullying. Don't tell me what to say. Don't tell me what to talk. Don't tell me what to think. Now they want you to defy linguistic rules. They, he, they, she makes absolutely no sense unless someone is testing the bounds of how much they can browbeat someone into submission. They is either supposed to be gender neutral, hence the he would make absolutely no sense afterwards, or they is intended to be plural, in which case they're saying, how far can I push this to make someone refer to me as a he, they, which has no gender logic, even if that were the underlying principle, and is grammatically impossible because this is still an individual human and not multiple people, that I should refer to he as a they, she as a they. So from a gender perspective, even if that were the underlying rationale, it makes no sense. I'm neutral they, but also he makes no sense. I'm they plural, but he singular makes no sense. And by the way, it also makes no sense because this person says, who is the school to tell me what it means to be a woman? We'll get there. According to their Instagram, why not his Instagram account? Oh, that's right. They told me and they bullied me to say they instead of his. They said they weren't allowed in the doors because they weren't wearing a suit. Now, by the way, this is how I also know that we're being lied to, because CNN is not making the statement. They're not saying that this person was not allowed in because they were wearing a suit. Let's just say he or she. CNN is not saying that Hayes was not allowed in because she was wearing a suit. CNN is saying Hayes was not allowed in because Hayes said, Hayes said they, quote, weren't allowed in the doors because they were. So they're not making a statement of fact. They're repeating a statement from the individual who might not be either speaking the truth, might not understand the truth, or might not understand the rules for which she was not allowed in. Hayes' post had more than 23,000 likes because nobody understands what the hell's going on here. Did anybody go see the rules of the school? I doubt it. And almost 2,000 comments as of Wednesday. Hayes says they, he, it didn't say he up here, so why can't I say says he has attended? Like, why is it they have when it says he? Even if I want to go, it makes no sense. And yet people who refuse to play by these rules are getting accused of bullying when they're not being successfully bullied into playing by these irrational, illogical rules. Hayes said they have attended the Nashville Christian School for 13 years, so they should know the rules. Listen to this. I should not have to conform to femininity to attend my senior prom. I will not compromise who I am to fit in a box, end quote, the post read. Who are you to tell us what it means to be a woman? Make it make sense. This person who identifies as they, he is now saying, who are you to tell me what it means to be a woman? But I thought the whole issue here is that you're not a woman. So now you're a woman. Nobody has the right to tell you what it means to be a woman, except you're saying now that as a woman, call me he, they. This is youthful rebellion that the adults in the room have allowed to become a social contagion, institutionalizing of adolescent rebellion. Who are you to tell me what it means to be a woman? Now refer to me, this woman, as he, they. A spokesperson for the Nashville Christian School said in a statement to CNN that it has established dress code requirements for both school attendance and special events, and, quote, all students and families are aware of and sign an agreement to these guidelines when they enroll. We don't need to read the rest of this. Then it's like how business owners are so virtuous. They go out there and start a GoFundMe, $30,000 so they can give Hayes the prom of her life. And if there's anything left over, they're going to donate it to the charity of Hayes' choice. Did CNN go look at the school guidelines? I hope these are the right ones. I mean, it's always nerve-wracking. You never know if you're dealing with the right document online. because it is conceivable that you just pull up the wrong Christian school. Hold on, where is it? Here we go. Nashville Christian School. I think this is the right school. If I'm wrong, I will gladly correct myself. I'll come on Mehdi Hassan's channel and let him grill me about having pulled up the wrong Nashville Christian School 2022-2023 student handbook. But I think this is the right one. And if I recall, let's just do this together, people. It was at page 20. There we go. Dress code. Lower school, middle school, upper school. Let's just go to the dress code, which everybody agreed to this. You signed the terms and you come into the school. Now, some might say when you get to these terms that they're bigoted because they say for the ladies, these are the rules, and for the gentlemen, these are the rules. That presumes gender. I might go one step further and say that even if I think the school might have been inclined, I don't know, I'd like to ask the school, that their refusal to allow Hayes in was not because she was wearing a suit, but because she wasn't even wearing a suit. Look here. So 6 to 12 gentlemen. This is for dress form uniform day. So I don't think that's what we wanted. Standard school day. Was there a special events day? Dressed standard school. There was a special events day. Okay, that's for the boys' kindergarten. Okay, kindergarten through 5. It might have been up there. Okay, so it might be up here. Let's see. Hold on. Sorry. Dress uniform day. Let's just assume that this is it. Dress uniform day. Let me find where the special events are. NCS necktie or bow tie through Max and Alice school uniforms. Did anyone see a necktie or a bow tie on what Hayes was wearing? I didn't. White long sleeve shirt purchased from store, khaki twill pants, black, brown, okay. Dress shoes with socks required. Standard school day. Additional details. That's for the gentlemen. Now, hold on a second. There was special events. There was a special event. Oh, we're not. So let's go with event. Towards the page 20, and now we're already past it. There was a special event dress code. Gentlemen have to wear a suit with a necktie or a bow tie, etc., etc. Let me see if we just do special event. No. Well, let me just do this one more time here. See if we can find this. Dress code and section 20, page 20. A hush falls over the crowd. The intent of the uniform dress code is to train our children to realize that although many types of clothing are acceptable for us to wear, some are more appropriate for specific activities than others. Because the type of clothing we wear can influence our attitude and behavior, the following dress code represents the acceptable model of dress for our school and its activities. Adherence to the dress code is the parents' and students' responsibility. Families are expected to be familiar with the dress code and support these guidelines in the purchase of school clothing. While the dress code policy applies to clothing worn during the school day, parents are responsible for supervising the choice of appropriate clothing for school events that occur outside the normal school day. Students are expected to yield to the given authority of any faculty member or administrator. My God, school is like prison, isn't it? On any dress code related issue. In addition to being issued demerits, students found to be in violation of the dress code policy may be required to contact parents to provide appropriate clothing or wear appropriate clothing provided by NCS. Repeated violations may also bring an increase in the severity of the consequences. The dress code includes a dress uniform that will be worn on predetermined days, including but not limited to special occasions. That's the word I was looking for. Such as praise and Thanksgiving, Grandparents' Day, and school-wide chapels, the dress uniform, as well as the standard day uniform and additional details outlined below. So it was special. What was the word I was just looking for? Special occasions. Necktie, bow tie, yada, yada, yada. Let me just see if we can find special. For goodness sake, special events during the course of the year, special events. At each of these events, include but not limited to the homecoming dance, candle pass, etc., there are expectations for behavior and dress that must be followed by the students to participate. The appropriate faculty, staff members will work with the administration to communicate these expectations. All right, we're out of there. Did anybody notice a bow tie or a tie? No. Could this student have gotten in had she been wearing a proper suit that might have been reserved for the gentleman? I think maybe. Robert Grouse. I've never seen you before, but anyways, I'll accept the critique. I'll accept the critique. Did anyone see that? No. Might I suspect there might be more to the story? Yes. Will that more to the story come out after this student has claimed full victimhood status, raised $30,000, had a special event put on for her? Businesses can feel good about themselves for having exploited the social media currency to its fullest potential? Yes. I'm not triggered. I'm open to constructive criticism. That's the story there. Look what you. Oh, now you've made the camera follow me. Okay, let's go over to Rumble, shall we? Hold on. Let me get make sure the link is there. It's utterly absurd, they say. I guarantee you we're going to find out that Hayes was not barred from the event because she was wearing a suit. She was barred from the event because she wasn't even wearing a proper suit, even if she wanted to push the limits and say, I would like to wear a suit because who are you to tell me what it means to be a woman? Now refer to me as he, they. Madness. It's absolute illogical madness. Okay, move on over to Rumble. I'm going to deactivate the camera again here. No, that's too far there. Let's go like this. Okay. And stop facial tracking. There we go. Boom. Let's go over to Rumble, people. And we're going to talk about what's going on in Canada. Did I miss the Ray Epps commentary? No, you didn't. Darren Beattie's coming on in 14 minutes, give or take. So move on over to Rumble. I'm going to talk about some Canadian stuff. I might not even get to some of the stuff that I wanted to. Let's do this. Okay. Remove from YouTube. Head on over to Rumble. See you there, people.